Manipulation. It's one of the most damaging ways people try to control or influence others. Whether it happens in relationships, at work, or among friends, manipulation can leave you feeling confused, powerless, and doubting yourself. In this video, we'll uncover the science of manipulation by breaking down the top 10 manipulation tactics, explaining how they work, providing real-life examples, and offering strategies to protect yourself. Let's begin. Number 1. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious manipulation tactics. It's when someone makes you doubt your own reality by denying facts, twisting events, or dismissing your feelings. Imagine you tell your partner that you feel hurt by something they did, and they respond with, "You're crazy. That's not what happened at all." Over time, these types of statements make you question your own sanity and perception of events. Or picture a friend who borrowed something from you and, when you ask for it back, says, "You never gave that to me. Are you sure you're not mixing things up?" Suddenly, you're doubting your memory even though you know you're right. Gaslighting works because it undermines your sense of reality, making you rely on the manipulator's version of the truth. To protect yourself, keep records of important conversations, such as emails or messages. Trust your instincts, and don't hesitate to seek support from others to validate your experiences. Number 2. Love bombing. Love bombing might feel flattering at first, but it's a calculated tactic to gain emotional control. It involves overwhelming someone with excessive affection, attention, or gifts. Imagine your partner showers you with constant compliments, tells you they've never felt this way about anyone, and starts talking about moving in together after only a few weeks. But when you set a boundary, like needing some personal space, their affection suddenly disappears, leaving you anxious and questioning what went wrong. Or think about a friend who always praises you and offers to help with everything in your life. Later, they guilt-trip you with comments like, "I've done so much for you, and you can't even do this one thing for me?" Love bombing creates emotional dependency, making you less likely to notice red flags or manipulation. To counter this, be cautious of relationships that progress too quickly. Set boundaries early and see how they react when you assert your independence. Number 3. Emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail is a tactic that uses guilt, fear, or obligation to manipulate someone into compliance. Imagine your partner saying, "If you leave me, I don't know what I'll do to myself." This makes you feel trapped, as though their well-being is entirely your responsibility. Now think about a family member who says, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me?" You feel obligated to meet their demands, even when it's against your own needs. Emotional blackmail works by exploiting your empathy and fear of conflict, forcing you into actions you wouldn't take otherwise. To address this, calmly acknowledge the manipulation by saying, "I understand how you feel, but I can't make this decision based on guilt or fear." Setting clear boundaries is key to resisting this tactic. Number 4. Playing the victim. Playing the victim is a tactic where someone exaggerates or fabricates their own suffering to gain sympathy and avoid accountability. Imagine your partner frequently saying, "You don't understand how hard my life is," whenever you try to discuss an issue in the relationship. Their problems always take priority, leaving you feeling guilty for bringing up your own concerns. Or think about a coworker who blames their poor performance on personal struggles, saying, "If you knew what I was dealing with, you'd cut me some slack." This shifts focus away from their responsibilities and onto their hardships. By portraying themselves as the victim, manipulators deflect responsibility and make you feel guilty for holding them accountable. To counter this, acknowledge their feelings without letting them derail the conversation. For example, you can say, "I'm sorry you're going through that, but we still need to address this issue." Number 5. Triangulation. Triangulation occurs when a manipulator brings a third party into the situation to create tension, jealousy, or competition. Imagine your partner frequently mentioning an ex, saying things like, "My ex used to understand me better when it came to things like this." This comparison makes you feel inadequate and puts you in a position of trying to prove yourself. Or think about a friend who tells you, "Sarah agrees with me that you've been acting differently lately," when you've had no issue with Sarah. By involving someone else, they make you question your own perspective and feel isolated. Triangulation fosters insecurity and keeps you focused on winning their approval rather than addressing the real issue. To protect yourself, refuse to engage in comparisons or competition. Focus on your own boundaries and self-worth, and don't let the manipulator undermine your confidence. Number 6. Silent treatment. The silent treatment is a passive-aggressive tactic where someone refuses to communicate to punish or control you. Imagine having an argument with your partner, and afterward, they stop speaking to you entirely. Days go by, and you're left feeling anxious and desperate to fix things, even though you don't know what you did wrong. Or think about a friend who ignores your texts or calls because you couldn't attend their event. Their silence feels like a punishment, designed to make you feel guilty. The silent treatment creates an imbalance of power, forcing you to make amends on their terms. To counter this, communicate your willingness to resolve the issue and give them space if needed. However, don't allow their behavior to control your emotions. Number 7. Withholding information. Withholding information isn't always about events or finances. It can also be a form of emotional manipulation, creating barriers and maintaining control in a relationship. Imagine your partner seems upset or distant, and when you ask what's wrong, they reply with, "I'm fine. You wouldn't understand anyway." This response not only shuts down communication, but also places the blame on you for not being able to understand. It's a subtle way of keeping you at arm's length, leaving you feeling inadequate and unsure of how to bridge the gap. Or perhaps you've asked about their past relationships, hoping to understand their experiences and gain insight into who they are. Instead of engaging, they dismiss you with, "That's all in the past. It doesn't matter anymore." By withholding this context, they maintain control over the narrative and deny you the opportunity to build deeper trust or connection. In both cases, the manipulator withholds emotional information to create distance, shift responsibility, and keep the upper hand in the relationship. To counter this, calmly address the behavior by saying something like, "When you dismiss my questions or shut down, it makes me feel disconnected. I value openness, and I want us to be able to talk about these things together." This approach encourages transparency while holding the manipulator accountable for their actions. Number 8. Guilt tripping. Guilt tripping involves making someone feel bad in order to manipulate them into compliance. Imagine your partner saying, "If you cared about this relationship, you'd do what I'm asking." This kind of statement makes you feel as though not giving in means you're neglecting or damaging the relationship. Or think about a friend who says, "Wow, I guess I'm not as important to you as your other plans," when you decline an invitation. You're left feeling guilty for prioritizing your own needs, even though you've done nothing wrong. Guilt tripping works by exploiting your sense of empathy and morality, making you feel as though you owe them something. To counter this, recognize when guilt is being weaponized and respond assertively. For example, you can say, "I care about you, but I also need to make choices that are right for me." Number 9. Projection. Projection is when a manipulator accuses you of behaviors or feelings that they're actually guilty of themselves. Imagine your partner constantly accusing you of being secretive or unfaithful, saying things like, "You're always hiding something from me," even though they're the ones being dishonest. This tactic puts you on the defensive and shifts the focus away from their actions. Or think about a coworker who spreads office gossip but then accuses you of being the one stirring up drama. By projecting their behavior onto you, they avoid accountability and make you question your actions. Projection works because it deflects blame and keeps the focus on you rather than them. To address it, stay calm and redirect the conversation back to the issue at hand. You might say, "That's not true, but let's talk about what's actually happening here." Number 10. Diversion, changing the subject. Diversion occurs when someone redirects the conversation to avoid accountability or scrutiny. Imagine confronting your partner about something they said that hurt you, and they respond with, "Why are you always criticizing me? What about the things you do wrong?" Suddenly, you're defending yourself instead of addressing the issue. Or think about a coworker who avoids answering a direct question by saying, "Let's focus on the bigger picture here," effectively steering the conversation away from their responsibility. Diversion works by keeping you off balance and preventing you from addressing the core issue, allowing the manipulator to escape scrutiny. To counter this, stay focused and redirect the conversation back to the original topic. You might say, We can discuss that later, but right now, I'd like to focus on resolving this specific issue. In conclusion, manipulation thrives in secrecy and confusion, but by understanding these 10 tactics, you can recognize the signs and protect yourself. The key to overcoming manipulation is setting boundaries, staying grounded, and communicating clearly. When you understand these tactics, you can take back control of your emotions and relationships. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more insights on psychology and personal growth. Thank you for watching, and remember,